What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Xennial Rewind, the place where millennials and Gen X get together for all their pop culture needs. And today we got a really cool YouTuber with us, the Poor Man's Retro Game Room, or better known as Joel, people that actually know him. So, Joel, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And of course, we have Moby on the show. Moby, how you doing today, man?
Hey, RGX, I'm doing well. Nip of fall is in the air there. Just enjoying some of the great outdoors, and that's actually inspired my monologue today. If I can run right into it here to start off the show as usual. So let's start off with Moby's monologue. Guys, I found this article that really just ticked me off about where this world is going, and it's an article from about a month ago in some digital magazine I'd never heard of called Reason Magazine. But get this, it's about a mother who moves to a rural part of Virginia. And if you can imagine, she gets a home, she's got three kids, and her backyard without fencing merges with three other backyards, okay? And they've got no forests, it's a really nice safe place. And all those other neighbors say her kids who are aged 4, 3, and 18 months to start this story are allowed to, go outside and play, and everything seemed good until about the spring of 2018. And what starts off is someone saw the 18-month-old kid, I guess, climbing the steps to go back inside, and they reported that to Child Services. And Child Services actually came out and did a sort of an informal investigation. They poked around the house. They kind of laughed things off. There was no formal investigation. I mean, the mom said, yeah, my kid knows how to climb steps. Like, what do you want me to say? But things get more serious from there. A second complaint is filed by another neighbor late 2019. Now the kids are aged 6, 5, and 3 years old. Okay, so now obviously they're getting a little bit older. So you would think they should have even more right to go outside and play. But when Child Services comes back this time, they kind of lay down the law, literally. They say apparently no child could be left alone whatsoever until the age of 13 years old, which I'll get into this a little bit more in a moment. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. 13 years old. Even inside the house. Even somehow they said in their own bedrooms, but that's completely unrealistic. I don't know if that was to sleep or to play, but like no parent ever is just going to spend the night in their kid's bedroom until they're 13 years old. So I don't know if there was some missing information on that or what, but that just seemed ridiculous. But the investigation doesn't end there. There's a third investigation in May of 2021. The kids are now aged 8, 6, and 4. And basically, they had a different neighbor. They thought they had some sort of little dispute with that neighbor, and that's why the neighbor called Child Services back. But now Child Services comes back and says the kids have to be supervised like 100% of the time, indoors, outdoors, even at that age. Apparently, it's Virginia law. Not only that, Child Services comes up with a written action plan that they required all adults in the house at that moment, even the woman's the mother's sister who was just visiting at the time, saying that the children will be supervised by those adults at all times, and they felt pressure to sign this. And so the story basically goes that's kind of the end of the story itself. But this mom is basically going like, is this not ridiculous to ask for this level of supervision for these kids? And where this intersects with our show is, I don't know about Joel, you and RGX, but like when I was a kid, my parents would be like, dinner's at 7 p.m. It's sunny outside. You get outside, bike around the neighborhood, go play street hockey, which is what we usually do. And then it was like, you're basically kicked out. Like the expectation was that you would be roaming the neighborhood with other kids until dinner time. Don't even ask about the summer where you're out like from like, I don't know, some days 10 a.m. coming back, late at night. I wouldn't even come back for dinner on those days. So that's kind of the monologue. I just found this article just fired me up. It was absolutely ridiculous. Maybe we'll go around with you two, starting with RGX. What do you think of that article, and what was your experience like growing up?
Man, I can tell you, being a Gen Xer, I mean, we were literally out until like, the streetlights came on. That's when we knew it was time to come home. Or my mom had like this barnyard whistle. It was like, you know, and you could hear it through the neighborhood. And then she had like this network of parents that were set up to where if they heard the whistle, they would whistle, and everybody would know it was time to go home. It was kind of cool like that back in the day. But it's just kind of crazy how things are now. I mean, I'm a parent. I mean, my kid's in college now, but I remember like the way we brought him up compared to the way I was brought up. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that are legal or illegal or whatever nowadays that you look back, like we used to ride in the back of pickup trucks, stuff like that. I mean, and nowadays, that's completely. I mean, if a cop saw you with some kids in the back of a pickup nowadays, what kind of tickets would you get? And endangerment and all this other stuff. It's just crazy, man. But yeah, the way that this generation is just brought up now, it's kind of like I feel like they have like this shield around them that they don't experience real life until they become 18, 19, 20 years old. I remember my kid just recently, he's in college now, and he still has to call dad up to come help fix his car or something like that, or even his computer. And it's like, dude, these are skills that I showed you how to do. And he's like, yeah, but I'll have somebody do it. I'll pay somebody to do it later on. And I'm like, so that's the mentality now. It's just
Oh
crazy,
man.
man. But as far as laws go, I know they're there, in place for the safety of the kids. I mean, as a Gen Xer, I like to bitch about how soft these kids are, but I can see why these laws are in place because you got a pickup truck full of like six kids in the back and they get rear-ended or it flips over. I mean, that's going to have some deadly consequences that are just going to be horrible. So you gotta kind of think about that too. But at the same time, in your memories, you reminisce about all the good times and how things were. Um, and then, like, as far as letting your kids out and playing in the street, I remember my son very rarely went out like on his bike and stuff. And when he did, he had the little helmet on and the pads and all that stuff. Nothing like we were back in the day. I mean, we were jumping freaking, you know, people and cars and pets and animals with our bikes and skateboards and just doing crazy stuff back in the day. But fun stuff. I'm sure Joel, you remember all that as well, right, man?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that resonated with me when you said a network of parents, because all the parents looked out for the kids, but they could hear them outside playing, and when they couldn't hear us, that's when they'd come check on us because they knew something was up. But yeah, we were outside, man, playing hide and seek. After dark was awesome, and I also had some cousins that lived on a farm. Man, we would stay out till 10 or 11, probably at the age of 7, 8, 9, and just play. And yeah, things are a lot different. Some things are better now. For instance, I remember in the car just jumping from the back seat to the front seat when I was a kid and standing up in the middle of the front seat while my parents were driving. We never thought a thing about it. But yeah, things are certainly different. And if you think about it, you hear a lot of parents say that they don't want so much screen time for their kids. Let them get outside and play with each other, interact with each other in person. So, yeah, that's my opinion, but I'm old, so there you go.
So here's what I don't understand is when I was a kid, it wasn't like my parents were not afraid of what could happen to us. I mean, I remember I was 4 or 5 years old because I'm a 1985 birth, and I believe this kidnapping occurred in 1990. So I would have been 5 or turning 5, right about that age where I got booted out for most of the day. And you guys probably never heard of this kid because I'm up in Canada, the Pacific Northwest. His name was Michael Dunahee, and he was kidnapped, and they still to this day don't know what happened to him. They never found him. They only found like one of those old grainy video camera security things of him. It was either a bank or a gas station that they spotted him once after he was kidnapped. And that terrorized my parents. But it didn't terrorize them to like, I've got to shelter my kids and lock them in with a Super Nintendo for the rest of their life. It was buddy system, because I had a brother who was a year and a half younger than me. And it was, you kids are still going outside all the time, but you just have to stick together. And they drilled it into us. You do not leave the sight of your brother. He goes to the bathroom, you go into the bathroom with him, basically, like public bathroom if you're biking around, or he goes into a store, you go into the same store. And honestly, it's a very simple solution that worked. I guess, my final point on this is I do think specifically from that article that shows we've definitely moved too far in the direction of sheltering. Kids should have a right to explore their neighborhood, right? Maybe not the 18-month-old kid when he was that age, but I mean, you've got to be reasonable. And I think it's interesting the magazine was called like the Reason magazine. Was you got to be reasonable that, when a kid's 5, 8, 10 years old, they're pretty independent. They can take care of themselves. They can handle a few bumps and bruises here and there. And honestly, that's just part of being a kid, or at least it was to me.
I remember back in the day, like you were saying, like a kidnapping. So I lived in a town called Colorado Springs back then. And this was, there was this kidnapping of this kid named Christopher Abeta. And it was literally like my neighborhood was right next to the neighborhood that this happened in. So it was like within probably a half a mile. Now, granted, this was a toddler, not even a toddler, like a baby, taken out of its crib during the night and never has been seen since. And I remember when I was a kid, there was a lake right in between the two neighborhoods, and basically they drained that lake. And I remember it was like traumatic as a kid, like, damn, there might be a dead body in there. It was like what was that movie, Stand By Me, when they went to go look for the dead kid? It was like, I mean, it was just like that. It was like, wow, and I remember my parents just freaking out about it. But at the same time, yeah, we were still allowed to ride our bikes and our skateboards, and we still had that network of parents watching us, that kind of thing. So, it's just different times. I mean, that was before cell phones. So that's why they had networks of parents. Now parents sit there on their cell phones and they're like texting each other and, that kind of thing. So, I mean, has it really changed? I mean, yeah, it has, but I think the technology side of it's really taken a hold of it too. So not only the kids got the screen time, but so do us adults.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember as a kid being told the rules about, stranger danger, that, that type of thing. If anybody stops, tries to pick you up or something, run, or, and we were always together. We were always in a group. It did seem like, so just seems like common sense, we need to kind of get back to common sense a little bit.
That's Jenny, but that's not Jenny's dad. If she gets into that car, you may be looking at Jenny for the last time. I'm McGruff, the crime dog. Let me show you something. See that playground? A lot of kids there. Every day in this country, 60 kids disappear. Some run away, but a lot are kidnapped by strangers or even by people they know. Almost 20,000 kids a year. 20,000 kids, one kid at a time. Maybe your kid, on your street, just like Jenny. Your kids can learn to protect themselves against crime at home, at school, on the street. Hey, nice going, Jenny. She's gonna tell her folks about this. And you can write to McGruff. Learn how to keep your family and your community safe and help take a bite out of crime.
Well, hey, with Leland gone today, that means somebody else has to step in and do the call to action. So I'm just going to pull a random number out of my butt here, but I know it's around 60% of you that are watching. Let's call it 64.85% are watching, but not subscribed. So smash that bell icon for full notifications. Like this video if you found, this entertaining for you. And we hope to see you around joining us for future videos as we build this channel. So with that, I will flip it over to my man RGX to start us off on our interview segment.
So we're going to go ahead and talk to the Poor Man Retro Game Room, Joel here, and see what's up. So my first question here, Joel, really is what got you into retro gaming? Have you always been a retro gamer, or have you kind of went from modern games and was like, I don't want to do this no more and go back to retro games when they were good? Or what got you into it, man?
I've always had some of my retro games. I always kind of held on to them. Some of them, unfortunately, not all of them. But and I went through that phase of trying to trade everything off for the next, generation of console and so forth. And I did get into modern gaming quite a bit, but I always emulated or played some retro games too. So it's always been part of my life. But I don't know. During the pandemic, that's when I really got back to just retro gaming and kind of disenchanted with some of the more modern games and um, and I can say that I really am now, where basically I own physical games, and anymore you don't really own a game. You don't even own a console with the Switch too, honestly. So that's one of my biggest reasons, and just the nostalgia of when I had my cousins over and we would stay up all night playing Sega Genesis or the NES, and just that nostalgia and the memories. And then I have three daughters, so I kind of brought them up and showed them a lot of the retro games. And so, yeah, but during the pandemic's when I really got into collecting. I was home all the time and decided to make a YouTube channel, and it's kind of I've been heavily collecting since then. So
Great. And yeah, I was going to ask you that too. What kind of got you into wanting to do a retro gaming, YouTube channel? You kind of already answered that, but kind of give us a little bit more light about that. How has it been for you? I mean, I do it myself, so how has like the YouTube algorithm and all that kind of treated you as well? I'm just kind of interested to see from another retro gamer's experience with it.
I just opened my page up today, and I've been on for 5 years now. My channel's 5 years old, so a lot of ups and downs. A lot of I started off, and I was lucky to get 20, 30 views on a video, and
Hmm.
and I kind of got lucky, had a few videos kind of get more, and started building this subscribers. And but really my inspiration was of course the nerd inspires everybody, but my videos are nothing like his. I do my own thing. And then I was watching a lot of videos on retro games, and there would be times when I'd be like, no, that's not right. They might have got something wrong, or you could kind of tell that maybe they didn't grow up with retro gaming, and just kind of wanted to do my own thing. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is a fickle beast as far as the algorithm. I mean, there's times where you can get thousands of views, and then the next video you release gets like 200 views, and it's like the same kind of concept. It's the same thing. So, yeah, definitely a fickle beast.
I
But
really enjoy it, and that's why I'm doing it. If it was based on if I'm getting views or subscribers, I wouldn't be doing it, because I mean, been at it for 5 years, and so I enjoy it, and I really enjoy the community that I've got to know so many people, and got into a Discord retro trade group, and really got involved in that, and just met a lot of really cool people. So
yeah, I would agree as well, man. I mean, just the kind of people that you meet, and like like people I would have never even talked to, like Bill Hurd, the Commodore, 128 engineer. I mean, just
yeah.
people like that you never thought that you would ever meet. The Waz I've met, just going to
Cool.
like these conventions and the expos and stuff that I've been to, and places. And in fact, they have that if you're in Colorado, they have that pinball expo. I'm going tomorrow.
Ooh,
So if you're up there, I'll be up there. But
dang.
yeah, some really cool stuff and just people that you meet and the things like that. And I can definitely see what you're saying for the love of doing the YouTube videos because um, I've seen a lot of channels kind of get kind of how can I say like almost AI-ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can tell they're just kind of just putting their content out there to try to get views, and it's like, put a little more heart into it, a little bit more soul, you know. But yeah, kind of crazy stuff, man. Now that kind of brings me to the next question as well. As far as retro gaming, what is your favorite retro video game system or computer or whatever?
That's tough. Um, but I have two. All right. And one of them's not so popular and the other one is, but I'm a Sega guy. I'm a Sega Genesis guy, Sega CD, Sega 32X. Um, so I'm a Sega guy, and the other console that I can't pick one or the other is the Atari Jaguar. Love my Atari Jaguar. So, and I love collecting for the Jaguar. It's, not a lot of people grew up with it, know about it. I had it back in the day, and really my collecting kind of started on gathering all the games that I used to have or rent. I wanted them back, and I was lucky to. I still have my original Sega Genesis, um, but I was lucky enough to recollect the Atari Jaguar and several games that I didn't have even back then. So, yeah, those are my two favorite systems to collect for.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, the Jaguar, really cool system. And then I was a Sega fanatic as well. I mean, I
Yeah,
love Sega back in the day. I had the whole, as you can see, I still have it, the trio up here, you know.
there you go.
So that's what's playing right now. It's kind of funny that you're a Sega fan. So right on. Well, I know that from watching your videos, but yeah, dude, that's really cool. So now another thing is, what is your favorite game? So that's even harder for me. I couldn't even decide. But what would be your favorite game, man?
Favorite game, and the only one I've ever live streamed and beat on a live stream is Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PlayStation 1. I go back to it all the time. I don't get tired of it for some reason. The soundtrack, the graphics, it's just awesome. So, yeah, that is my favorite game, and there's a lot of runner-ups that are really close. Doom, I love Doom on almost any platform. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly, man. Doom, Jesus, man, on like every game system. The only one I don't like it on is the VIC 20. It's a home. I don't know if you've ever seen Doom, the homebrew. Oh, on the VIC 20, man. I mean, it's great that somebody tried to do it, but it's like, I mean, proof of concept. Yeah, it does work, but you could barely even see what the hell's going on.
the one I the one version that I think is probably the worst one I've ever played, and I haven't played them all, of course, is the Super NES version. It's to me, it's not. I I have a hard time with that one. So it's great on the Jaguar.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I got a couple questions for you as well there, Joel. Actually, three of them. So the first question I got for you is, what do you consider your cutoff for retro? Whether it's generation or years, what do you consider for your channel?
Man, that's a tough one. I think that I've just kind of officially put like the Xbox 360 and the PS3 into retro, in my opinion. And I don't have the newest generation of consoles, and I don't have any plans of getting them. But I don't consider the Xbox One, you know, retro at this point. But I think
Yep.
right under that generation is where it feels retro to me. And really easy to collect for the Xbox 360 right now, and the PS3, cheap, plentiful. So
That answers the question, and I'm thinking similarly. Obviously, it's a moving bar as
it
time
is.
progresses. Newer generations become retro. So I'm about with you. The PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, generations. Those are kind of my crossovers. I think I'm starting to lean more towards you. Like, if you were to ask me a couple months ago, I'd tell you for sure the PlayStation 2 GameCube generation is definitely retro. But yeah, now I think it's absorbing the generation after. Now I'm just getting into your channel. I watched a couple videos as prep for this show. Really cool stuff. Like I told you offline, I'm actually going to watch a bunch more of your videos this weekend. But another question is, you're very welcome, Joel. I read in the synopsis, like the text description of your channel, that one of the things you want to do is help viewers get retro video games for cheap. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was my original plan, and I still try to go back to that now and then. But yeah, that was kind of I wanted that to be my main focus. And after a while, it kind of got to where everybody kind of knew any little tricks, and and basically it's at this point it's just trying to be out there all the time at garage sales and flea markets and stuff like that. So I mean, it's kind of tough, but I do a lot of videos, and I've done them in the past on really good games that are still cheap to collect. So there's a lot of games that people missed out on that don't realize are really good games that are cheap to collect. So I like to do a lot of those videos as well.
Awesome. So my final question, which actually is a follow-up to that, and on the fly here, I'm going to change it a little bit. I was going to ask you, what are maybe your top 1-2 tips on where to shop for retro games? I know you just mentioned flea markets and stuff like that, but if there's anything you'd like to add to that. And I think the other thing I would ask that's kind of a last minute change here, you just mentioned certain titles that are cheap. What are some titles or like big wins that you've found for cheap?
That's a little harder to answer off the top of my head, but I'll get back to that one.
Sure.
So, I mean, my main advice is if you're collecting, one thing that I didn't mention too is there's a lot of retro collecting trade groups out there. I belong to one, and honestly, I'd say 70% of my Atari Jaguar games has come from trading. And we have a really good core group of people, and I think we're up to like 30 some members now, but I was one of them that have been there from the beginning. And being a part of that, knowing what other people like, we always ask, what are you looking for? And
Yes.
So I might have a game that I got 5 years ago that was, $30 back then, that's 70 now. You don't know. And so, trading, that's a great way to save some money and get what you want. And I'm not a completionist at all as far as collecting. I just want the games that I like and that I enjoy. The other thing is I go to my pawn shop a lot, and I have a really cool pawn shop. I live in a small town, Sterling, Colorado. It's in the northeast corner of Colorado. But my pawn shop is awesome. I've never been to one like it. He's a super honest dude, and he gets a lot of stuff in, and he knows me. So when he gets stuff in, he sets it aside, or he'll give me the first crack at it because I'll go in and buy stuff. So I'd say go to your pawn shops and be careful at pawn shops. Make sure you're. Mine's a good one. I went to a bad one in Missouri just about a month ago, but anyway, make sure that you're not paying full price for a repro or something like that. But garage sales are great. I love garage sales. I love going to garage sales, man. We'd get up early on Saturday morning and just get the paper out and go to all the garage sales. And flea markets are also a good way to get games as well. So those are some of my tips right there. You can also look and save a search on eBay and save it. And every time something comes up on eBay, it's going to notify you, and you can check. And every now and then somebody will, let something go for less than what other people are asking for it. So that's another good way to look at it as well. Man, games, you got me right off the top of my head. I would say, so like, well, let's say for the Atari Jaguar, Cybermorph is cheap, and it's a really good game in my opinion. I know that it got roasted by the nerd, but he does a lot of what he does is for entertainment value. So there's a lot of good games out there. Super Mario Brothers All Stars for the Super NES is still fairly cheap, and it's got tons of content on it. The Sonic games for the Sega Genesis are still cheap. They're good games. So that'd be some of my mentions. And the PS1 has a lot of good role-playing games, good racing games that are super cheap that you can get. They have a lot that are expensive nowadays, but there are some if you know how to look for them to get some really good games for a good price. Hopefully
that's
that
legitimate. that does answer. That's actually legitimately awesome advice there. Particularly, I'm an eBayer. I've had some good scores on eBay. Like I think it was 2013. I was able to. I could tell I was live bidding with some guy to the last second, but I was able to get a TurboGrafx 16 with 4 controllers, Turbo Tap, 6 games, including Bonk's Revenge and Raiden, which is like a $150 game, for like $150 US, all in an auction. So there are some big wins. I know that was like 12 years ago now, but still a big win back then. So yeah, that eBay thing's great. Garage sales are fun. You never know what you might discover there. And I myself, I was in grade 10. I remember I was selling some N64 games at a garage sale we had, and I had some guy come by and really negotiate me down on a bunch of games. I was just a kid. I didn't know they were going to be worth a lot of money one day. Selling Banjo-Kazooie for $5, Zelda for $10. And you're right. Like I was on the other side of that. So you totally can find, deals there. So that's great advice. That answers all my questions. So I will throw that back to you, RGX, if you got anything else.
Yeah, man, I could say as far as like finding things, estate sales is another place you should check.
That's a good one.
Yep. You can definitely find some great things in estate sales. But as far as like me, Facebook Marketplace is another place that I've found some great deals. Like kids that don't know what they have. Like my VIC 20 I bought from like this 18-year-old kid. I don't know if he'll be watching. He said he subscribed to my stuff, but yeah, I told him I do, some YouTube videos on it. Got it home, cleaned it up, worked just fine. Had the flash cartridge with it with games already loaded on it. And I picked it up for $40. It's like, where would you get a deal like that any other place? So, but yeah, I think that'll bring us kind of to the end of the show today, guys. I just wanted to thank the Poor Man Retro Game Room for joining us today. Go ahead and give a shout out to your channel and your social links, man.
You can find me on YouTube. I'm the Poor Man's Retro Game Room. We do have a Discord. The link is in the community section there. And you can find me on Facebook, the Poor Man's Retro Game Room as well.
And once again, I wanted to thank Moby for being the co-host on the show today. And unfortunately, Leland wasn't here to be with us. He had some family stuff to take care of. But, I just wanted to thank everybody that watches the show, all of our subscribers, all of our viewers. And if you dig the content, don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and also that new little hype thing that got going on. So it supports us small channels here. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have a great one.